It's time for another Dirt Daily, and today I am going to install some tires on some cool new wheels. But before we get to that, about a year ago I was invited on a Jeep Jamboree. Jeep Jamboree are these events that are held all over America. They're put on by Jeep Jamboree USA. And they're basically off-road weekends where you can go different places, go four-wheeling, learn how to use your Jeep if you're new to it, but it's not all newbie Jeep buyers. There's a lot of people there that have been going for years and years, and last summer I was invited by General Tire. General Tire is one of the sponsors of Jeep Jamboree, one of the affiliate brands of Jeep Jamboree, and they invited me out to the Catskills in upstate New York to go four-wheeling and drive their Jeep and get to experience a Jeep Jamboree. I'd been to them before, but I hadn't been to one back on the East Coast. And the cool part, well, one of the cool parts was that I got to take my brother, who, even though he owns a Jeep, he doesn't really go four-wheeling the way I do. He's more one of those guys that bought a Jeep so that he can put the top down in the summer and go to the beach and have four-wheel drive in case there's bad weather. So it was cool to bring him along and let him experience what a Jeep Jamboree is and do some four-wheeling with my brother. So today I have a brand new set of General Grabbers. These are 37s. And the reason I'm putting these on these wheels is because I'm gonna go on another Jeep Jamboree. There's one coming up on the Rubicon, and I wanna put some General tires on my little JL Noob Sock, and I have some brand new wheels, which are really cool, I think. So let me show you these wheels and why I think they're so neat. And it's gonna be a pretty simple episode. We're just gonna assemble some tires and wheels, but the cool thing is these wheels. They're kind of a new idea on an old product. So come check it out. These are Icon alloy wheels. Icon Vehicle Dynamics are a company that is known for suspensions, but then they came up with an idea for a beadlock wheel that is pretty cool and innovative and not something that I've seen before. And so I wanted to track down a set to run. I figured I would use these when I run the Rubicon because they allow me to air down the tires without the tire losing the bead. But unlike other beadlocks, I've done beadlock installs in the past where there's normally a ring right here that clamps the tire in this area. You can see this does have a very narrow ring right here, but that is what's not going to hold the tire. The tire sits, the bead of the tire will sit right in this groove on the inner bead and right in this groove on the outer bead. But then you can see there's these black dots. These are threaded pins. They're special little bolts that are a 12-point, they're fine thread, and then they have this smooth bolt tip at the end. And what this will do is, this screws into the wheel from the outside. So you can see all these little bolts all the way around. Well, you screw these bolts in, you get them just started so you can just see the top of them. Then you put your tire on and you air it up and it'll pop over the safety beads, which are these little lumps on the inner and outer. And then you screw these bolts in even further and they will protrude in behind the bead of the tire. So now the tire will sit right there, and if you hit up against a rock, even at low air pressure, it won't pop over and de-seat your bead. These will go all the way around the tire, and they'll all stick in only about maybe half an inch, maybe 5/8 of an inch, but that will keep the tire bead locked in place so that when you're at low air pressure, your tire doesn't pop off the bead. Pretty cool idea, pretty innovative twist on the old trend of clamping the bead or keeping the bead seated on your tire. It does not have an inner bead, but most of the time I've found when you lose a tire bead, it's usually on the outside when you bash into a rock or pinch into something. It is possible that you could knock the inner bead off, but I don't think it's nearly as common as losing an outer bead. I think this is pretty neat. I mean, Icon does claim that these are DOT compliant, and the DOT beadlock thing is a little bit wishy-washy. I know People have said for years that beadlocks are not DOT legal, but I also have never heard of anybody that was written a ticket for running beadlocks. If you put beadlocks together right, they're pretty safe. But I think this is even cooler because all of the hardware is protected down inside the wheel. When these bolts are screwed all the way in, you don't have that secondary bead. How does this work? Well, these bolts, screw one out here and show it to you. They have this fine thread, and then right there by the head of the bolt, there's an O-ring. And that O-ring seals up against the wheel surface and seals in the air. So there is the possibility, like, it's a little bit weird because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 additional holes in your wheel that air could escape from. But when the tire is on and these are all screwed in tight and that O-ring is seated all the way around, plus your valve stem or tire pressure monitor, whatever system you use to put air in the tire, there are a lot of holes in the thing, but I really don't think it's any less likely or more likely, maybe what I should say, I don't think it's any more likely that it's going to leak versus a clamp, an outer beadlock ring. So if you've had good luck with beadlock rings not leaking, you'll probably have just as good a luck with these wheels not leaking. Basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull all these little bolts out. We're gonna put a little bit of anti-seize in all of those holes and put a little bit of oil on those little O-rings, and then we'll get them back in and just started just until the nub of the bolt is protruding or is smooth with the inside of the wheel, and then we'll put the tires on. Once you have a little bit of anti-seize on all of the threads and a little tiny dab of oil on the O-rings, you are set to put the tires on the wheels. Now, you don't want to run these bolts all the way through. You want them to be just flush with this outer safety bead so that you can put the tire on just like a normal tire, a normal wheel, instead of like a beadlock. In fact, I'm probably going to just run these to town to my local tire shop because A, I don't have any tire machines here. I have some spoons, but I also don't have any valve stems, so I'd have to go to the tire shop anyways to pick up valve stems. So I thought, you know what, why don't I just haul them down there, let those guys throw them on real fast with their machines. It will be a little bit of an extra step because after you mount the tire, then you're gonna let the air pressure out and run these bolts all the way in to 20 pound-feet, I think it is, to get these pins seated, and then you can air it back up. I'm not going to put tire pressure monitors in these wheels, mostly because they're over $100 each for my Jeep, and I really don't feel like I need to know what the tire pressure is on the screen. I've been checking tire pressure with a tire gauge for a long time, so I'm pretty sure I can do it for another couple trips off-road. But you can put the tire pressure monitor in these wheels if you want. I do think they require a different lug nut than the factory lug nut. The deep recess of the wheel looks like it's probably going to require kind of a thin wall lug nut or a long lug nut to reach down inside there. But other than that, it's pretty much just a normal wheel that you would put on your 4x4, except it's a beadlock, but not the standard type beadlock that has the clamped on outer ring. Now the cool thing is that this does have an outer ring out here, and this is a replaceable ring that is designed that you can smash it into rocks and scrape it all up, and then you can go around and remove these smaller bolts, and then this outer pieces can be replaced and put in new ones to get a nice fresh look on your wheel after you've taken it rock crawling on the Rubicon, like we will in a couple weeks. Tires and wheels are back from the tire store. One of the things that Icon recommends before you put these bolts in all the way is to go around and blow around the holes just in case there's any like little pieces of sand or schmutz or dirt or rust or metal that get down in there. You want to make sure that that little O-ring seals up good against the wheel. They do come with little spares so that if you are on the trail or if you ever have any issues, you always have a few spare O-rings in case one of these should spring a leak. I'm pretty stoked on these. I think they're really cool looking. Plus the other thing about this style beadlock is that a lot of shops, off-road shops and tire shops, don't like to mount beadlocks. Beadlocks take a lot of time, there's a lot of work involved, you gotta get the tire centered on it just right. I took these wheels and tires to my local tire shop, they never do beadlocks, and I was like, hey, would you mount these beadlocks for me? And they're like, oh, we don't do beadlocks. But then I showed them how they work and how it's just a normal tire and wheel, it just happens to have these pins that go in and lock the bead, and they were like, oh yeah, we'll do that. That's pretty simple. So they mounted them up, which I think is a really good selling point for these over other bead locks that are out there. They are not inexpensive, $300 to $400 each. That's per wheel. Though I do think they're on sale right now, so check it out. I grabbed a Jeep JL lug nut just to test it out, and it does not fit in the holes for each wheel stud, which is kind of a bummer. That would be my one request, would be to make sure that you could fit the stock lug nuts in there. So I'm gonna have to track down some different style lug nuts for my Jeep, but I kind of knew that going in. I'm gonna go and run all of these in and torque them to 20 foot-pounds, and then I think I can air them up to street pressure. I will probably run about 28, 29 on the street, and then now I can get down to just about as low as I want to go when I'm off-road. I probably run off-road about 6 to 10, depending on the terrain and how much stuff I'm hauling. Like, you put a lot of stuff in and the tire squats a lot, you might want to have a little bit more tire pressure to kind of support everything. And since I'll be camping on the Rubicon with it, probably won't run it super, super low. Overall, I think it's a pretty good tire and wheel combo. I'm sure my friends at General wish I had ran the red letters out like on the back side of the tires, but I just couldn't do it. I just thought it looked so cool with all the black. It's just so clean and good looking. Oh, here's the other thing. The emblem for the Icon points right at the valve stem. So when you walk up to your Jeep or your truck and you're trying to find the valve stem to air down before you hit the trail, you just look for that emblem, and wherever the badge points, it'll point right at that. Well, I mean, as long as you put the center cap back on in the correct orientation. Can't wait to get it out on the Jeep and get on the trail. I have a few more things to do to my Jeep before the Rubicon trip, but I'm going to leave you with some footage from last year's trip up in the Catskills, upstate New York, where I went with Jeep Jamboree. If you've never been on a Jeep Jamboree and you have a Jeep, maybe you're new to Jeeping or new to off-roading, and you're trying to get into figuring out what your Jeep can do, go to jeepjamboreeusa.com. They hold events all over America. They fill up fast, so check them out. Make sure you're ready to sign up when they open the new calendar, which will be now for 2025. Though I do think there's 1 or 2 trips that still have some open spots. So if you still want to sign up, check that out, jeepjamboreeusa.com. That about wraps up this Dirt Daily. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. But wait, don't leave. Stay and watch some of the footage from last year's trip up in the Catskills. It was a good time. Lots of cool Jeeps up in the woods.
Now straight. Yep. Take that back tire, come up on that rock over there. Get right for the street, turn a little bit more this way. That's it, straight like that. Down, okay, stay in it. Whoa! Get tire and Jeep both on the same side of the tree.
Yeah,
That's good.
get your passenger from there. Keep going.
Yeah.